Hey everybody, Hamster Sales here with another Starcraft 2 commentary. Been a long time since I did a proper replay commentary. It should be a lot of fun. We have a TVP on Naga Caverns. I think maybe only the third TVP I've done, so hopefully I can fumble my way through it efficiently. This was sent in to me a long time ago, I think like September 13th, I remember just reading in my email. So I really apologize to the guy who sent this in to me. It took me way too long. I got into some other side projects right after you sent this to me. But that's no excuse. I should cast replays much sooner if people send them to me. Regardless, this is a Naga Caverns game. I'm going to be drinking a couple beers during this commentary, just because I was going to anyway, and then I decided to do a commentary. Didn't feel like not drinking beers, so going to be doing that throughout the course of the game. I have it on authority from the person who sent this in, by the way, that something fairly epic is going to happen during this game. It's going to be pretty cool from what I hear, so don't want to spoil that, don't want to spoil who sent it to me. Keep it all relatively mysterious if I can. Nothing too exciting happening in the early game, as we commentators all too often have to say, but that is our curse. We cast strategy games where nothing too exciting happens in the first minute. That's because we are more patient and intelligent people than, say, shooter fans who of course crave action every single second. Don't really have the capacity for abstract thought, but we do, so we have to endure early games where not too much is going on. Barracks coming down from Dragon Spear after Supply Depot. Extremely unorthodox build. I think a very standard gas timing. I actually have to make a confession. I only Zergling scout nowadays, so this is unfamiliar territory for me. I never worker scout ever. Just because I like to kind of play reactively off of Zergling speed. I do kind of a lot of all-ins, but I think it's also a good defensive eco build if I feel like that's what I need to do. But PenguinFlies gets a nice SCV kill early. That probe is proven to be very useful. Not going to get a second one here though, being teamed up on by two SCVs. Was 2 hits away from a kill on that one. But a very aggressive probe from PenguinFlies. Oh, I hear probe death in this space. What happened? Or maybe that was SCV death. Oh, yep, a kill on that probe. I got extremely lucky picking out the probe that killed that SCV. Yeah, great job there by PenguinFlies. I'll probably just refer to him as Penguin from now on. Enough going on. I'll just bring up that production tab so we can see what's happening. And we do have, let's see, Cybercore on the way from the Protoss player, which is always good to see. A more standard tech route happening here. He's got kind of a sort of a block going off here. I think it would be nice to block off his Protoss against Terran, but I know you don't always do it. But I mean, Hellions can be just as devastating to Protoss. I know you do usually get Stalkers, an efficient range unit, much sooner than Zerg usually does. But regardless, I think it's a good idea to block off with Protoss if you have the mind to do it. But Penguin not electing to do so here. And we have Dragon sending his SCV down to this watchtower, getting some additional scouting information. Going to run headlong into this. Oh, Zealot not taking a swipe, instead on the move command. Does not want to be deterred from perhaps some early Zealot pressure. No, instead, Penguin electing to hold each Naga watchtower with a single Zealot. I don't really think that's the best move. I mean, Zealots can be kited really easily by Marines or Hellions or anything that Terran might send to a watchtower. So I don't think really the best idea. Maybe just risk a probe instead, and not spend 100 minerals on a scout for each tower. But that's a good question. What do you put on a tower as Protoss, either a Zealot or a probe? If you're a Protoss player yourself, please tell me what you usually do. Probably makes a lot of sense to put a Zealot on a tower against Zerg, because you're going to have to commit 4 or so Zerglings to take one out. But Zealot getting a kill there on SCV, so proving his worth there, proving me wrong that a unit of his metal does deserve to be on the watchtower, getting an early SCV kill there. And we got this guy from Dragon Spear on his last leg. He was in that probe battle earlier, perhaps hotkeyed as a scout. No, he is not. Only production buildings hotkeyed at the moment for the Terran player Dragon Spear. PenguinFlies is... what is he up to? He is going for 3 gateways, probably to expand. 3-gate expand, I know, a popular build for Protoss. And Dragon Spear is massing up several Marines and getting those all too deadly Marauders, which are great units against Protoss. I'm glad I don't really have to deal with those as Zerg, because Roaches are pretty useless against Terran. So likewise, Marauders pretty useless against Zerg because they have nothing with heavy armor to attack for the most part. And he is moving out with a few Marines and a single Marauder to put on some pressure here at the 7-minute mark, forcing that Zealot off the Watchtower. Penguin, very good reaction to pull his Watchtower units off from their duties of securing that vision. And he's going to be able to hold this. I think he's got several Stalkers, a Sentry, a couple of Zealots. Not too big a force from Dragon here. He does have the mobility to pull back, I think. Although with this number of Stalkers, he might be in trouble. Those swift range units might hunt down those relatively slow Marines. And no stim for Dragon means no escape. I think he's going to lose this entire harassing force if Penguin is regressive with his Stalkers here. Yeah, it looks like that could be the case. Marauder Slow is finished though. Concussive Shells has been finished, so he is able to kite that Zealot a little bit. And that Zealot likewise going to slow down these Stalkers, but now they are hot on the heels of the Marines. Going to get a lot of shots here. Not enough room to kill all the Marines, I don't think. But Dragon Spear losing 2 additional Marines of that harassing group. And he now has about the same size force back at home once again. So Protoss player I don't think is going to be able to push into the top here. Penguin not enough to break this Terran defensive position. Not really going to be able to ferry his units up this ramp. We'll see how aggressive he can be though. You might try to take some pot shots with his Stalkers. They are so fast they could just back in and out. Maybe just take the Stalkers and not these melee units aren't going to do too much unless he really wants to commit to this. He does see the number of Marines and Marauders on the ramp and decides to back off for the time being. He is preventing an expansion and has taken his own in the meantime, throwing down additional gateways and assimilators. That is a lot of blue shit warping in. So very effective there, I think. Just kind of feigning an attack. Terran player doesn't really have enough units to run down his ramp and push away this force just quite yet. I don't think. It would be a pretty good fight, but it looks like he doesn't want to commit to it at the moment. And Penguin leaving a few units behind? I wonder if this is a mistake or not, I'm not sure. Leaving a single sentry, I like this. He's going to use force fields to try to prevent any kind of move down his ramp. Maybe at the least preventing SCVs from coming down to mine. He does have enough for 2 force fields, I believe. Yep. And yeah, he's just going to be waiting for things to move down that ramp. Let's check out his vision, see how close tabs he's keeping on that ramp. Looks like he's at home macroing at the moment, getting those probes to work at this newly established natural expansion. Not paying too much attention. Maybe he has a close eye on the minimap, but I don't see any micro dedicated to that sentry. I personally saw a Terran unit escape the base for a second at the bottom of the field of vision of that sentry. But Sentry's staying very true to his name. He's vigilantly watching that ramp. I just hope Penguin is likewise vigilantly watching his mini-map, because a force field right there is a very cool idea. Can completely prevent the Terran player from expanding, or at least maynarding SCVs down. Not paying attention, units get down the ramp and murder that sentry. Was a cool idea, but he just didn't quite execute it. Pretty hard to do, I think. You know, he would have constantly been having to check that hotkey. I think he had that unit hotkeyed, I just assumed, but regardless, not able to force field that ramp. So let's head back to the all view. Terran player is of course securing his expansion behind killing that sentry. You know, even in the presence of that sentry, I don't know if Dragon scanned or like got any kind of vision out of his map, but you know, it was a really good idea. Just didn't quite pan out. Looks like Dragon's going to be going for a drop here though. Loading up some units into that first medevac. Probably wants to do 2. Yeah, there you go. And as always, Terran going to go for those all too deadly drops. Maybe drop 2 locations at once. Probably not the best idea to drop the natural. I mean, of course the army is going to be around there to defend the base. I mean, 2-prong drops are always nice, but I don't really see a reason for it in this case when his opponent only has 2 bases. Probably a much better idea when there are 3 bases, but regardless, drops are always good. What's his plan for this? We do have waypoints. He does want to drop the natural. I mean, the 2-prong drop is going to split the attention of the Protoss anyway, even though this isn't the best location to drop. And look at this. Penguin has his units a little out of position attacking these rocks. So I think the second dropship or medevac will have a lot of success with this with both of these drops. Marauders and full of Marauders. I didn't even notice that. That one full of Marauders is going to be able to do tons of damage to the buildings and these Stalkers. Great choice there. Marines doing tons of DPS to these probes. So dual prong drops completely paying for themselves. Tons of damage to the Protoss economy here. And let's see if he can get some tech structures down. This is probably what he wants to do with these four Marauders. And man, they are just beasts with medevacs at their back. Able to take out all defending forces inside the base. going for a pylon. Probably like to see him try to take down this robo facility. He probably didn't have enough time. Does get the damage done, does kill that single pylon. Forces the loss of mining, and can now escape with all those units in tow. Lost the one medevac and all the marines at the natural expansion, and escapes with these marauders. I'm quickly going to lower the sound levels because I felt like the game sounds a little bit drowning me out. I know I've done that before in games, so I want to prevent that. There we go, and back to the game. We do have Penguin here. He took his whole army back to defend. Multi-prime drops from Terran's so annoying. I mean, he really didn't lose that much there. A single medevac and 8 marines, and completely decimated the Protoss economy. How many workers did he kill? 16? 16 probes met their mechanical end at the ends of marine bullets. Such a sad fate for robots that don't really have souls or anything, but give precious, precious minerals to the Protoss economy. I have no idea why I mentioned souls. I don't even really believe in a soul necessarily, but that is way too philosophical for a Starcraft commentary. I apologize. And we have a command center going down for Dragon Spear at 3rd base on the way. Hopefully seeing a planetary fortress thrown down somewhere. Planetary is so badass as your 3rd base because of course they're going to attack your 3rd. Usually not so many defenses there. It is your outpost, your bastion of extra resources. So why not make it a big badass cannon shooty thing? I'm personally very envious of the fact that Terran get Planetary Fortress. As a Zerg player, I would really like to have that. Check out this block off by PenguinFlies. He's got a huge area that units would have to go for run-bys, like for, I guess, suppose Hellions. And has a complete little lane for things like Immortals to waltz out. They have a very long way to go, but they can, of course, make it to the front eventually. Have to go around all these buildings. That's pretty slick. I thought there might have been a block there with these 2 minerals, too, so I thought it was a bit longer than it clearly is. You can sneak in between that mineral patch and the assimilator. And we have the very, very standard Marauder Marine mix against Protoss for Dragon Spear. Standard just because it's good. Can't fault him for that. We have an observer keeping a very close eye on this particular medevac, so unless Penguin just microed that to follow the medevac, that was quite fortuitous that he now knows a drop is on the way. And we'll be able to prepare for it accordingly, hopefully getting some stalkers right down here. And, oh, we have an attack at the same time, so here's another 2-pronged situation. Going to be having Marauders, I guess, in the mineral line this time. I don't know if I like that choice. Before, he made a very good choice of throwing Marines down here, which can very quickly kill probes. Unless he sneaks this into the main, it's not going to do as well. Oh, he, I think, was assuming there was a 3rd here. So he's going to load that Marauder back up, no doubt. And bring him to the 4 here, I'm sure. Dragon Spear stimming up and taking down units. That's what Terran does best. Nice force fields there, splitting the Terran force completely in half. Maybe a medevac load up would be in order here. But the Marauders getting good damage done on in their own right. The Immortal, though, going to work on these Marauders. I forget exactly what patch this is, but I think they might have the extra range. Of course, we can check. No, so this was before 1.4. What a bastard I am for not having casted this sooner. I again apologize to the guy that sent me this in. I will shout you out after the end of the game. But, yeah, wow. Marauders still have the 5 range. So, by virtue of casting this game from the past, I have effectively nerfed this Immortal. And we have Dragon Spear's Planetary Fortress. Not going to be able to survive unless some repair comes down, but probably not enough workers in there to have saved it anyway. And Dragon Spear's force not down is completely whittled down after that failed attack. It does have more reinforcements in the back actually, so pretty equal forces, relatively similar supply. The Terran is down a bit though. And these Marauders, I think, are going to be able to completely wipe out the Stalker heavy force. No Zealots to tank, and Immortal got some good damage done before it was completely destroyed. Lots of medevac support for the Terran units, so despite being down in army supply or in overall supply, he had the army to clean up the Protoss attack. A lot of the units were back at home, I'm sure. So, failed attack, failed counterattack. Protoss did wipe out the 3rd base of the Terran, so we're back to even at 2 bases apiece. Time for some more beer. Ooh, kind of bad luck there. Not sure what he was shooting at. He might have been target firing a medevac there, but Dragon Spear able to take down the Observer, had to blow another scan, but he either assumed there was an Observer on his army or saw the little Predator-esque shadow that cloaked units emit in this game. and we have Penguin taking down his rocks to take a potential third. Unlike the adventurous Terran who likes to set up planetaries at the gold base, the Protoss electing to take the more conservative, farther away from his enemy third down here on Naga Caverns, much like a Zerg player would. Throwing down several pylons for reinforcements and I guess to prevent future supply block maybe, I don't know. Got an additional Immortal on the way and tons of sentries, so he realized he was probably lacking in sentries in that last engagement, a primary reason that he lost. I think he had a few force fields, but didn't quite have that huge sentry count. And it's going to build that back up, get some more energy flowing in for additional force fields. Sticking with this Immortal composition, which is good to combat the Marauder, the Marauder force that is doing so much damage to him. But of course, Marines always accompany those Marauders, so Immortal's pretty easily focused down. I think Blizzard recently said that they were kind of surprised that the Immortal shield deal, the hardened shell mechanic, never really came into play. Oh, kind of an unfortunate angle for that medevac, completely taken out with the full set of units. But yeah, Blizzard recently said that they're surprised the hardened shell mechanic didn't come into more play. I was missing a drop here in the back by Dragon Spear, so again with the two-pronged drops, I think he must have taken out a pylon by now, being effective for Dragon Spear as they so often are for Terran. Oh man, would like to see him have stimmed earlier. Maybe he could have taken out this Templar Archives if he was focusing the entire time, but instead going to lose all the Marauders and the medevac. Anyway, back to the little tangent I had before. Blizzard said they were a little surprised that people never used Immortals as tanks, or that they just didn't pan out so well as tanks, that they're used more for their burst damage against armored units. Which is they felt was kind of unfortunate, but yeah, and the reason I was battling about that, Terran's always going to have the Marines, which are super effective against Immortals. 250 mineral, 100 gas unit. And here we go, the Bioforce, Dragon running in. Not that nasty at Bioforce, just wasted 4 Marauders in that drop a little bit. And yeah, Force going to be completely split by these force fields, and Penguin able to, again, take down the aggressive Terran. Losing a lot of stuff there. Let's check out the units lost tab. Yeah, well, very relatively even. So the earlier drop keeping Dragon Spear relatively close in the unit lost tab here. And we do have Penguin making a counterattack with the speedy Stalkers, able to catch the remaining forces from that attack off guard there a little bit. We do have the planetary in support here, so Dragon keeps this alive, needs to repair it. There he goes. Yeah, should be able to hold this off fairly easily. Losing an Immortal is Penguin, and he decides to wisely back off here. Planetary Fortress is so brutal when they're being repaired. They do that huge area of effect damage, of course, and are nigh invincible when they are being repaired. Don't know if he has the armor upgrade. It's building something, so I can't see. Has no armor upgrades on that, so just a regular run-of-the-mill devastating planetary fortress. And we do have a sneaky counterattack from PenguinFlies here, circumventing the planetary, so he can do some damage here, catching some reinforcements, and will likely be able to take out the natural for Dragon, so he's going to be doing big damage here. Second base he's killed, so we have 2 bases killed for Penguin, and going to get some workers down. Not too many workers at that natural, transferred most of them to the third, which is also being attacked by Zealots, which are not long for this world. But the entire Protoss counterattacking force being demolished by Marauders. I'm sure the Marines did their part too, but it's primarily the Marauders that are going to be destroying that armored type unit. And that Zealot little attack here is maybe misconceived. I don't know if those units were rallied or just were trying to join the attack and got met by Mr. Big Badass Planetary Fortress and met their end. But not too much damage done to the third here. Tons of SUVs and mules mining at this gold base, so a huge income, I'm sure, for the Terran player, despite being down in bases. Oh wow, I would have thought his minerals would be a little bit higher with mules on the gold expansion here. Kind of oversaturating it with SUVs too. You actually don't need a high number of SUVs for gold, which is kind of a cool part about him. But I apologize here. Dragon took out what would have been the 4th base for Penguin while I was babbling about the gold base for the Terran player. And we do have tons more gateways being thrown down for Penguin. Could be caught off, could catch him out of position here, Dragon Spear could, if he was paying very close attention. I think he is going to come down this ramp and try to take out these buildings while they're warping in. We have a relatively meager force for the Protoss player here, Penguin. So I don't know if he's going to be able to hold this off. I don't think Dragon's reinforcing. That really hasn't been his MO. Likes to keep defense back at base. Doesn't want to commit too heavily to any attack. Gets a single gateway down and wants to be careful here. I'd like to see some stim micro, especially against these charge lots. No, he realizes these forces are lost and is going to try to get what damage he can done. Destroys one gateway, de-powers another, and takes out a few zealots, but loses that entire counterattacking force. Not cost effective, but he decided to take a chance and try to catch these buildings as they warped in. Didn't work out for him. Penguin able to muster enough forces to hold it off. And we're kind of back to a stalemate. Terran player on 3 bases currently, I believe. Yes, this planetary is up, but almost no SCVs saturating it. Penguin doing a better job saturating all his bases. Of course, that's easy once you've mined out your main. But I guess Dragon has too, and he's kind of oversaturating this third. A bit of a mistake that can be easy to make, because you figure that the workers will be getting 50% more minerals per trip, but really there's only 6 patches, so you don't need too many more than 12 SCVs there. Maximum 18, and how many do we have? We have 20 SCVs there, so a bit oversaturated. Like to see some more back at the natural. Plus you're just going to completely exhaust this the high yield, because it doesn't have a huge number of resources per patch also. So exhausting that a bit early isn't taking much of an income advantage in the meantime as a result either. I'd like to see a little bit more even spread for him, but that's a minor gripe. I myself am not very good about evenly saturating my bases. I've come to realize after more closely watching my replays. So, yeah, something I think we all do. Been a lot of action in this game so far. Pretty cool. I was hoping to finish 2 beers, but we're at the 30-minute mark, so I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm only like halfway done on 1 beer. I am a terrible, terrible drinker. I'll have to make up ground. Work on my beer macro here. So I apologize if I'm drinking a lot during the rest of this commentary. We do have High Templar in the mix for Penguin, which I love. A great unit against Terrans. In the limited number of PvTs that I actually watch, High Templar are devastating against Terran. Of course great against Marines. A Marine only has to hang out in a Psionic Storm for half of its duration to lose its life. Or I think a little bit more than that. They have 55 life, so yeah, like 70%, but they're going to be bathed in Storm with this number of High Templar. So going to kill all those Marines very quickly. Marauders, of course, will take a lot of damage. I think Psystorm does 80 damage over its duration. I wonder if it says so in the tooltip. Yes, it does say 80 damage there. So that's more than half of a single Marauder's life as well. Penguin making a sweeping kind of attack here. I wonder if he's going to try to come in through the back of the natural of the Terran player. And what do we have here? Looks like a Ghost Academy. Lights are going off. We have Cloak. We have no nuke in here. So, don't know if that's what's gonna happen. Don't know if we're gonna see a nuke or not. But in the meantime, Penguin here sneaking around to the back of one of the bases of the Terran. You usually call this the third. Single volley of lasers going off on these poor SCVs. They just want to drink beer like I do. And instead they're being shot in the face by aliens. We do have a counterattack here from the Terran player. He may have attacked first. He's already got a base down. And Penguin electing to pull back, doesn't get the planetary kill, and is instead going to try to defend against the Terran push here. And oh my gosh, tons of workers going down into the Marines of Dragon Spears. 54 probes killed to this point. And we do have a bunch of reinforcing zealots completely cut off and massacred. Nice EMP there from Dragon. Didn't notice he had ghosts in this mix. Very, very effective against Protoss, of course, losing all their shields. And completely devastating this force. Gotta see some storms if Penguin wants to get back in this yet. Tons of damage from these storms. All but wiping out the Terran force, in fact. Nice feedbacks as well. But with this limited number of life left on all this infantry, they're going to be able to do a lot of damage before they go down. Yep, able to completely clean up the Terran force. Protoss force, rather. Is the Terran player Dragon Spear. And we have a bunch of reinforcing charge loss that might do the trick for this low life infantry. Yep, Dragon Spear electing to lift off in the medevacs, escape back home. Oh man, probes still maynarding their way down for PenguinFlies. These guys, I guess, were originally mining the high yield. No, they weren't. Being attacked by a Marauder too. A tough life for the workers in this game so far. Yeah, and we have Dragon Spear. He does have this as a nice defensive fallback position, but completely mined the space out way too early, unfortunately. Don't know what happened to the refineries. I don't know if he just never took that gas. I don't remember. And we do have the Stalkers taking out that pesky Marauder that's getting shots on probes, which are making their way to this sneaky 4th base for Penguin. I really need to stop naming the bases at this point. So many bases have gone down. It's just a base over here on the right-hand side of the map. Let's call it that. That's what it is. And we have another bio ball amassing itself over here for Dragon Spear. And similarly, heavy gateway force for Penguin. It seems that TVP, they just like to stick on their gateway and barracks units for the most part, which is cool. You do get ghosts eventually for Terran, of course, which are great with their EMPs. What do we have on the way? We have 4 Marauders and, more interestingly, a nuclear missile. Nukes only take 60 seconds to build in this game, huh? I think I remember them taking longer in Brood War. I don't quite remember. Somebody please fill me in if I'm incorrect here, but we do have a nuclear missile on the way for Dragon Spear. Like to see us land on some units. Love to see me some nuclear launch detected. It's such a great effect in this game. The explosion is very cool, so can't wait to see if that happens. We do the force for Penguin, not too huge here. He does have the High Templar, which can of course turn the tide of any battle. But the Bile Ball in general just looking big for Dragon Spear, not to mention that he could do some huge damage with the nuclear missile. He has shown a penchant for double dropping the Protoss player, so maybe we'll see some double nuke action. Though I think he would need a second Ghost Academy, which I have not yet spotted. Doesn't look like he has one. So maybe a single nuke going to be launched here. At the same time he is attacking. I don't see any singular red blips on the minimap. But this base completely destroyed, no defending forces. We do have the army for Penguin here, looking to get revenge though. This base all but cleaned up already. Oh, we've got a nuke on the defending army. Penguin may be frantically searching for the nuke elsewhere. No, he does see it. So, you gotta move, buddy. The nuke's coming. Oh god. Oh god. All the gas-heavy Templar going to their death, and there's no way Penguin can survive this battle. Lost all his High Templar. They were his key to victory here. And Dragon can just stim up and clean up. That was brutal. Nuke noise fail, claims Penguin. He had complete vision of it right there. I went to his camera. Perhaps listening to music. I've actually missed a nuke because of music before. Luckily it wasn't too devastating for me. I only lost like my 5th base during a really long game. But I've been there, Penguin. I know how it feels, but now you've got to lose all your gateways. Got to lose your game. One time in 100 they work. It's worth it all. It's true. It's very true, Dragon. Much respect for landing a nuke in a game, for not playing boring as sometimes we players do, trying to rack up the wins. I myself am guilty of that. Go for relatively standard boring strategies, all in an effort to win the game. I'll see if I can finish this beer. I assume this game is almost over. Very good. And Penguin is losing his last remaining mining base. Actually, no, he has his gold here. I apologize. But that cannot be too long for this world. Bile Ball too big for Dragon. Too humongous a supply lead. Penguin perhaps just sitting at his keyboard stunned. Maybe has a few more words for Dragon before the game is over. He does have an army, so good on him for not quitting just yet. But I think one more stim and the game is over. Not even any force fields for these sentries. GG, calls Penguin. I've just about finished my beer. It was a good beer. Good game, good beer. P.S. It's bullshit that you need no tech. That is an interesting comment. He seemed to have kind of a good nature about him after having been nuked. But what a nonsense comment at the end there. You got nuked in the game, buddy. Dragon had ghost tech and nuked you. So kind of an inane comment at the end there by Penguin. But thanks so much for sending it in, Dragon. This came about on the Nerdy Shore forums. I called for more replays. He sent me one. It was actually the last replay email in my box that I've gotten so far. But sorry it took so long to cast it. I really apologize for that. But thanks for sending it. I'd love to see me some nuclear launch detected. Like to see it landing on High Templar too. Very good unit for Protoss that not enough players make. But yeah, big shame that Penguin turned out to kind of be a herp derp type of a player. He lost to, I'd say, superior tech, made primarily gateway units all game. His only real tech was the High Templar. But regardless, thanks for sending it in, Dragon. Fun little 39-minute TVP nuke game. A lot of action. I don't recall saying what league he was in. But I hope you enjoyed the cast. Thanks everybody for listening. And much more to come.